I'm going to say something that's going to challenge a lot of healing advice that you've heard online. Healing from toxic love is not just about calming your nervous system. Don't get it twisted. Yes, learning how to regulate your emotions, that matters. But you can take deep breaths every day, every moment of the every minute of the hour and still be surrounded by unsafe love. You can still journal every night and still have no boundaries. You can meditate for hours and still abandon yourself when someone threatens to leave. Real healing requires more than learning how to calm down. It requires rebuilding your safety. It requires rebuilding your identity. It requires rebuilding your choices. It requires rebuilding your boundaries. It requires rebuilding relationships. It requires rebuilding your whole life. And understand that this is just not my opinion. This is what current research on trauma recovery is helping us all understand. And so in today's video, I'm breaking down 5 powerful truths from recent research on healing from toxic relationships, on healing from trauma bonds, anxious attachments, and emotional dysregulation. And girl, some of these truths may completely change how you measure your healing.
I was a fool to begin, trying to bargain again. My love to you, but I know better now. Damn every rolling out, just to give it all.
Hey beautiful people, and welcome back to another video. And if you're new here, welcome. Hope you stay. I'm your lifestylist Kay, your secure woman mentor, and I help women unlearn the lies of toxic love so that she can heal, rebel, and live her life with zero apologies. And if you are ready to stop confusing emotional chaos with love and start becoming the secure woman you are always meant to be, that's deep down inside within you, make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications, because I'll be here every week, every Friday. Because we're just not talking about healing over here. We are truly learning how to live differently, live on a higher frequency. And so let's get into it. Healing requires more than emotional regulation. Research found that effective recovery support includes safety, it includes choice, it includes identity, it includes validation, it includes cultural understanding, healthy communication, practical resources, and it also includes rebuilding identity and community. But notice the one thing that it doesn't include. It didn't say anything about teaching them how to take deep breaths and sending them on their way. Because healing is just not an emotional process. It's also practical. It's relational, social, and sometimes financial. And if we're honest, more than not, most times, all the time, it can be very much so financial more than anything. A woman might be struggling emotionally because she doesn't feel safe. She might be afraid to leave because she doesn't have stable housing. She might keep returning to that unsafe space because she's been isolated from her family, friends, from her safety net. Most times she may know the relationship is unhealthy and not safe, but feels trapped by financial obligations, children, fear, shame, or just lack of resources. And I think one thing we have to understand, if that is you or you have experienced that, that does not make you weak. And we have to get that out of our head. That does not make you weak. Now, it does make her situation complex, but we also have to stop reducing every struggle to your nervous system is dysregulated. Because of course it's dysregulated, but that's not the cause of the reason for your struggle. You're dysregulated because of the struggle that you're experiencing. Most of the time, her nervous system is responding appropriately to a life that does not feel safe. Now, you cannot regulate your way into feeling safe while continuing to give unsafe people unlimited access to you. And now, don't get it wrong, healing may require breathing exercises. And if that's needed, do that, please. But it also requires a plan, money, community, professional support, and boundaries with consequences. So if you've been doing your inner work but still feel stuck, don't immediately feel like you are failing. Instead, ask yourself, what practical parts of my life still need support? Because sometimes the next level of your healing is not another affirmation. Sometimes it's just making a decision. Understand that recovery is bigger than never being triggered again. In a recent research, women describe healing in several areas: emotional regulation, self-compassion, identity, relationships, physical well-being, purpose, and everyday functioning. And see, all these areas are so important because too many women believe that they are not healing unless they never get triggered. And I'm here to tell you that you can be triggered and still be healing. You can miss someone and still choose not to return back to them. You can have a difficult day without losing all the progress that you've worked so hard for. You can feel grief and still know that leaving was the right decision. You can feel anxious and nervous and still honor your boundaries. Healing is not the absence of emotion. Healing is your growing ability to experience emotion without allowing the emotion to run your entire life. Maybe you still think of him, but you no longer contact him. Maybe you still feel guilty when you say no, but you no longer change your answer. Maybe conflict still makes you uncomfortable, but you no longer silence yourself in order to keep someone else comfortable. See, that is healing. That's healing in progress. That's healing in motion. The secure woman is not the woman who never gets triggered. She is the woman who no longer hands her triggers the steering wheel to drive her life. Stop measuring your healing by whether you felt something today. Start measuring by what you did with what you felt. Did you pause? Did you protect yourself? Did you honor what you know? Did you choose differently? See, that is progress. What you did with what you felt, instead of assuming that you're not healing because you still have emotions. But you don't need the trendiest healing methods. That's only for fluff. Every therapy doesn't work for everyone. That's why we have options. So just going with the trendiest one may not be effective for you. So you have to understand that if you have placed yourself with someone or some method or therapist or a coach that is not working for you, you cannot be afraid to choose differently. Because one thing you never want to do is truly feel like the method that you're using, the therapist that you're using, isn't working because you feel dismissed, you feel blamed, or you feel unsafe. You don't want to put yourself back in a space in which you're trying to elevate out of, in which you're trying to grow from. Social media will have you believing that one particular method, therapist, practice, exercise, healing method is the missing key to your entire life. But honestly, we all know that recovery and healing is never really all that simple. And journaling can help you create awareness. But also, awareness isn't the only thing that will help with changed behavior. Responsible healing is knowing what kind of support you need. And if you can't pinpoint what type of support you need, if you have a close friend, talk to someone so you can gain clarity on the type of support that you might need. You have to give yourself permission to receive the support that you need in order for your healing journey to be successful, to be ongoing, to be consistent. One thing about it is that you don't receive a prize struggling alone. And needing support does not mean that you are broken. It means that you're human and you've experienced heartbreak, trauma in your life that you need assistance with. And and when you decide to do something to help yourself heal, that's you choosing yourself. Sometimes you're not craving him, you're craving relief. One of the strongest connections they found in research is anxious attachment, or some even call it love addiction. But understand this is not consistently defined, and we can't go around using it to diagnose every woman who is struggling to release an unhealthy relationship. Because what feels like an overwhelming craving may sometimes be a desperate craving for relief. Because you may not necessarily miss the inconsistency, because that's what you've experienced. You may miss the temporary relief that you felt when they finally called or when they finally showed up. You may not miss the confusion that you've experienced in unhealthy relationships, but you may miss the emotional high that comes when he returned from ignoring you or giving you the cold shoulder. You may not want the relationship you had as it was. What you really may want is the brief version of him that appeared when he felt that you were pulling away. That push and pull pattern can intensify your attachment. See, pain creates distress. His return created relief. And because your mind connects him to both, you may begin reaching out to the one person who keeps creating the wound. Understand that relief is real, but it is not the same as safety. And what we want more than anything is safety. Safety over relief. And intensity is not the same as intimacy. We want intimacy over intensity. And so instead of asking yourself, why can't I let him go? Why can't I let them go? Ask yourself, what feeling am I trying to escape when I reach for him? Is it loneliness? Is it rejection? Is it uncertainty? Is it fear of being replaced? Is it fear of the belief that you weren't enough? When you identify the real feeling underneath the urge, you can begin to respond to the wound instead of running back to the person who keeps reopening it. So to make this process easier, sometimes you have to regulate first and then decide. So let's be responsible for the information that we just went over. We understand that breathing does not magically reset our nervous system, but it may help to create a pause between the feeling and the decision. And sometimes that pause is exactly what we need in order to think clearly, in order to get our thoughts together. So before you text him, pause. Before you call him, pause. Before you respond to the bait, pause. Before you explain your boundaries, pause. Before you agree to something that violates your needs, pause. Regulation is not learning how to stay calm while someone disrespects you. Regulation is creating enough space to choose yourself without being controlled by emotional pressures at the moment. Let's bring all 5 truths together. And we understand that healing from toxic love requires more than just breathing techniques. It requires more than just calming your nervous system. It requires safety. It requires practical support. It requires boundaries. It requires rebuilding your identity. It requires learning that being triggered does not erase your progress. It requires understanding the fear underneath the attachment. And it requires creating enough space between your emotions and your actions to make different choices. Your healing is not proven by how peacefully you can tolerate dysfunction. Your healing is revealed by what you are no longer willing to abandon yourself for. Now, if this message spoke to you, I want you to comment below. I choose myself without apology because I want you to write it, see it, and let that declaration become part of your new story. Share this video with another woman who has been questioning whether she's truly healed or not. And I want to make sure that you subscribe because next week we're going even deeper into the difference between emotionally triggered and being genuinely unsafe. Because sometimes those lines can get blurred. We want to talk about why confusing those two can either keep you trapped or cause you to abandon healthy connections. So until next time, remember that You are not healing so that you can tolerate more BS. You're healing so you can choose better. I'm your lifestylist Kay, and I'll see you next week.